Hello, I'm Connor. Welcome to the Bookkeep Prosper YouTube channel, where we help nonprofit and startup founders tackle their accounting, take back their time, and remove the bookkeeping stress from their lives. Today we're looking at reconciliations. So what are reconciliations? Reconciling is where you tie your accounting back to a source of truth. So most reconciliation is reconciling bank accounts. So you're reconciling all the transactions you've made over the course of a month or whatever the accounting period is back to the actual statement from that financial institution. Now, it doesn't necessarily always have to be bank accounts, but that's the most common. You may also do this for your loans. Make sure you've recorded the right amount of payments on your loans and the interest, and that's all done correctly. You may do this for your merchant accounts, whether you're using Shopify or Stripe. You want to reconcile that the balances at the end of the month held in Stripe or in Shopify, wherever else, match what the actual statements show. So let's dive in and take a look at how this works. Now, you'll typically see here on QuickBooks, this is going to be your typical landing page on QuickBooks Online. You'll be in this Get Things Done tab right here. Now, what you'll want to do is navigate down to the Bookkeeping tab, and from here select Reconcile. And this will be the opening screen, but you just go ahead and say Get Started, and then you can say Let's Get Reconciled. So this should be the screen once you get through those opening screens for the first time you use the functions. You'll land on this screen. So you can see here, they do provide an option for you to watch Stuart's video on how to reconcile. I'm going to walk you through that myself, so you can go ahead and close that right there. Now, what we should see here is that you'll be an account selection here. So in your chart of accounts, right, which is what they're showing here, these are all the different items that the QuickBooks allows you to reconcile. We should see several different bank accounts. We're going to go ahead and reconcile the checking account, and that's where we're going to start. Okay, so typically what you'll see here is that you will have, if you've never reconciled before, you won't see any reconciliations here. And now if you have, it'll tell you when the last reconciliation that you performed was. So in this case, I just went in here and added this last reconciliation as of April 30th, 2022. And what they'll show you here is now, okay, here's your beginning balance. And now what is your new ending balance and what is the ending date? Now you'll find these on the actual statement. So let's pull up this statement for May of 2022. Typically you'll be able to see this as a PDF that you can download from your bank account, or you may have a paper statement somewhere. Now, this isn't a true statement. This is just a report I made to help facilitate this video, but you'll typically see a couple of key items here. You'll see start and end dates. In this case, we can see it's for all of May of 2022. Now, we'll also see here that they're going to show a beginning balance here. And so we can see the beginning balance there, and we can check to see if that matches what we have in QuickBooks. So let's do that first. Now, back in QuickBooks, we can see that the beginning balance does match. That's the $4,349.46. And that does match right here, $4,349.46. Now, there will be an ending balance too, and typically these are shown at the top of your statement, but in this case, we just are showing them here on the balance side of things. So we have starting balance right here, and we have ending balance right down here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this ending balance, and I'll add it to our reconciliation sheet. Now that we're back here in the reconciliation screen, I'll go ahead and add that ending balance. And the ending date, I can go ahead and select May 31st. So that's the end of the statement. Now what we can do now is just go ahead and select Start Reconciling. Now, if you'd like to have a little bit more space on your screen, there's a couple options here. One is this expansion button here, or hamburger icon. Right? If you select that, it's going to collapse the sidebar menu, or you can select it again to open that menu back up. Now, you can also collapse this upper section here if you want to be able to see more of the transactions, and you can also expand that down with this little arrow. I'm going to go ahead and leave it open as we don't need to have that. We don't need that much space for the purposes of this video. Now, what you'll see on this screen is you'll now see we've added the statement ending date. We have the statement ending balance, and we have the cleared balance. So cleared balance is how much is the balance that is actually you've marked as cleared. Transactions are in, and it's showing that. Now, on your statement, you'll typically have total money out and total money in as well. And so that's an easy way to show what those two amounts are, is QuickBooks is going to calculate it right here as we select transactions. Now I don't have that showing on our particular statement, but that is something you will typically see on your statement. And so if the balance is off, you can take a look at these numbers once you've selected all the transactions and say, okay, I don't have enough payments or I don't have enough deposits coming in or out of my account. And that's where I need to look for errors. In this case, what I'll typically do is select all the transactions to see where we land. And as we do that, or we can just go one at a time, we can select one at a time. And so you can see here, as we select these transactions, so these are transactions we've already entered into QuickBooks. And so QuickBooks has these recorded, and now we're checking them against the actual statement. So you can see here on 5-4, we had a check. Number 5, it was for fuel to Chin's Gas. Now if we check the statement, you can see here on 5-4, we had a check number 5 for Chin's Gas and Oil, and that was for fuel expense. Anyway, this is all categorized in QuickBooks. Your bank might not have this much detail in here, but they should have the amount, whether it was a check, and they may have some information on who it was to. Some statements also show check images towards the bottom of this, towards the end of this statement, and so your bank may do that as well. And if you do have more questions about who the check was for, you can typically log into your bank account and look at a scanned image there as well. But so we can see that this transaction is in here. It's for $62.01. And now looking back at the reconciliation screen, you can see here there's a payment, $62.01. Now you can go line by line and select all of these. As you select them, you can see the amounts update, right? The deposits are updating, the payments are updating right here. And you can see the difference that you still have between the statement ending balance and the cleared balance, which is the balance that's incorporating all of these items you've selected. Now what I'll typically do is go ahead and select all of the transactions, and there may be some already pre-selected in here on your behalf by QuickBooks, and that's fine. And I'll do that, and I'll just make sure that the total amounts match what we show on the statement, and that the difference here is 0. So you'll know the difference is 0 when it says 0, and there's a little green check mark. Now what we can still see here is could be a case where these deposits and payments didn't match up in terms of the totals here for the month. But in this case, I know it does, and so we've matched the cleared balance, and I can go ahead and click Select Finish Now. Now you will have the option here, typically to attach a statement, depending on which level of QuickBooks subscription you may have. But you can attach a statement right to the reconciliation. That way, if your CPA or any of your financial professionals need to review that in the future, they have the statement right there and they can review it. Now let's take another look at doing another reconciliation, and this time maybe one that isn't quite so clean. So we have another statement here. This one is for June of 2022, and we have a starting balance. So I'll go ahead and copy that starting balance. And I'm just highlighting it and using Command C on a Mac or Control C on a PC. Now I'll add that to the ending balance. We can see that the beginning balance matches. So actually what I needed to copy was the ending balance down here, which is $1,201. Go ahead and copy that. Now I can add that ending balance, and I can add the ending date. And so this statement is for June, so I'll go ahead and select June 30th, 2022, and I can start reconciling. So we're on that same screen now. We've got our statement ending balance, we have the ending date, and we have the cleared balance, payments in and payments out and deposits in. Okay, so let's go ahead and select all of the transactions as we normally would to make sure to see if we are already ready to reconcile. So in this case, we're not ready to reconcile. As you can see, we've selected all the transactions, but there's actually a difference here. And so we're not actually matching the cleared balance is not matching the ending balance. So what we need to do is go and investigate the statement. Now there's a couple different ways we can do this. What I am going to do is show you, this can be a little bit, there's different ways to troubleshoot this part. Now when you do have errors and you need to go and check, first thing we'll do is go back to the statement. So in the statement here, right, we have all the transactions. So what we would typically do is go line by line, right, and see go back through and actually check these off one at a time. as opposed to checking them off all at once. Now, I'm not going to do that during this video. That would be time consuming, and you don't need to see me checking off item by item. But there's a couple things we can do to check quickly. Now, you remembered I copied the total amount that we were off by. So if we're only off by one transaction item, one thing you can check is you can do a search of a document. So if you're looking at a PDF document that has searchable, right? It's not just a picture. Then we can look for that specific amount. Now, on a Mac, I'm going to press Command F, or on a PC, I'm going to do Control F, and that's going to pop up a little search window up here. I'm going to go ahead and paste the amount in there, and then I'll press Enter. Now, that's searching the document for this amount. What we can see here is that there is a check here for Hicks Hardware on 6/8 for $228.75. Now, if we go to look for that amount in QuickBooks, that was on 6/8. So if we scroll down to 6/8 over here, you can see that there's a deposit of $868, and there's an expense, legal professional fees to Pam Sites for $75, but there's not actually that check to Hicks Hardware. So we can see that that transaction is missing. So we need to add that into QuickBooks. Now, how can we do that? There is a button up here that says New. So it's a plus button, and it says New in this menu. And that is a great way to just about do most of the transactions you're going to need to do, all the actions you're going to need to do on a regular basis for your accounting. Now, I'll tell you this: if this menu is collapsed, a plus button will pop up right here in the middle of the screen, and you can still access this menu. So when you select that menu, there's going to be different options popping up here in terms of different areas to make a transaction or to access something within QuickBooks. Now, if you select it over here, it may present basically in the same way. So what we need to do is actually, this was a check. So we're going to go to Vendors, and we're going to select Check. Now, check dates are typically before they're deposited, but in this case, we're going to go ahead and use the same date we had on the menu. Now, we need to choose a payee, and this was for Hicks Hardware. So we can see it there. This is coming out of the checking account, so you do need to select which account. So if it was coming out of savings, you need to select savings. Otherwise, it won't match up. In this case, we can see that there's actually a purchase order here that we had added to QuickBooks, and so we can add that in, but I'm not going to do that for this example. I'm going to go ahead and add the check number, I think it was 5. Let's double check that. Okay, I'm glad I did that. Was from the previous month, right? We can see this is check number 75, so let's go ahead and update that amount. All right, so check number is 75, and category is going to be maintenance and repair. And the description, I'll just put in here supplies for repair. I'll put in that amount, $228.75. Now, it's not billable or assigned to any customer in this case, and for the most part, this is mostly what you'll need to do. I'm actually going to go ahead and copy this description and add it to the memo as well. These appear in different ways in QuickBooks, and so memos are great to have. I would suggest always having a memo, and descriptions can make it easier. Now, especially if you wanted to make this itemized, you can put in here, paint, plaster, whatever else you needed to add, and then you could have a memo that sort of replies for all. But if you wanted to itemize it, that's a great way. But I'll typically add a description in both locations. And now if you have an image of the check or a receipt, you can also attach that here, right, where you could have scanned it, or you can take a screenshot and add it right here. And that's a great way to make your books have all the receipts matched, and then you don't need to actually save the receipt physically. You can just have it here attached in QuickBooks. Okay, so we've made this this check. It's on 6. The date's the same date. It's for Hicks Hardware, check number 75. We'll go ahead and save and close. And now what we see is when we scroll down, we can see there's a new transaction here that's not been selected. Let's go ahead and select that transaction. And now we can see that we have that transaction selected. The difference is 0. Statement ending balance and cleared balance match. Our payments out and our deposits in match what we have on the statement, and we are ready to be finished. Now, if you ever need to leave the screen and come back, you can select this drop-down arrow here in the top right, and you can say Save for Later, and then when you can come back to that reconciliation later and resume it. But for now, we're just going to finish now. You can also close without saving, but we don't need to do that. We'll finish now. We've reconciled this account. Great. And so now we've done 2 months of reconciliations. You've seen what it looks like when there is a transaction missing, and a little bit on how to add one. Now, if you need to know more about how to add different types of transactions in the future, different type of expenses or payments or receiving payments, we'll cover those in separate videos. This is just give you a basic overview of how to do your reconciliations, how to match up what you see on the bank statement with what's in QuickBooks, and how to adjust for any transactions that may not match or that need to be added in QuickBooks. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns and what we can review for you in the future. Thank you for watching our video. If you liked it, please give it a like on the button below. It does help us grow. If you're interested in learning more about our professional bookkeeping services, go ahead and select a link in our profile to our website and you can schedule a meeting right there. If you have any ideas for what you would like to learn next, drop us a comment and we'll look to add it here in the near future.